Oh, hello. Welcome back, everyone. I am back after 3 months of absence. Um, that some might have noticed, some might not have. My last video I did, it was I got really, really sick after that. Ended up with unbelievable bad flu, just down for days. Then it was Christmas. Then I was on a ski holiday. Then it was my birthday, and we are now in March and I'm ready to rumble again. So I want to introduce my amazing fellow soul healer that does the same as me. This is Nicole Shepard from all the way down the other end of the country. That you're down in Brighton, aren't you?
Yeah, down in
Yeah.
Brighton.
So we both specialize in entity removal and quantum soul healing. So we have tried for months to actually make this little podcast event happen because we've been speaking about it for ages. So here it is. So we decided that it would be really good to share information about um, retreats, like plant medicine retreats, psychedelics, because there is a mass awakening going on the planet Earth right now, isn't there? And, I feel that some people will maybe try and take I don't want to say lazy route, but the quicker route into maybe hear about these retreats, and, they're wanting more of a spiritual awakening and to understand what's going on with them. But, I just think that, I mean, what was I trying to say earlier? It was like, I think going and doing these things can then open them up when they take these medicines into dimensions that they don't understand, and it could really be quite a detrimental experience. So Nicole has got an amazing story to share about it was a client of yours that you did a whole load of entity removal, which involves one of these retreats. So I'm just going to, leave the floor to you and you can share that story that you had told me about quite a few months ago because it was fascinating.
Yeah, thanks, Sally Ann. Um, I just want to preface and say, like, the retreats and psychedelics, they're a tool and they can be used in both positive and negative ways. And I think, as you were saying, I think people are using these as a shortcut to get to higher planes of consciousness, like the 12th dimension or higher planes of reality. And they certainly give you that access. Though what I've seen in practice, and maybe you too, is that when people come from a particularly traumatic childhood experience, and they haven't necessarily dealt with childhood trauma in that more energetic way. Like maybe they've processed it in psychotherapy, they understand it at that cognitive level, but it's still very much trapped in the body, in the chakras, at an emotional level. People that go to these retreats, what I've seen is that that just opens them up to the entities that are sort of hanging around because it's like a shark smells blood in the water. An entity smells that fear or that trauma in the astral. And as soon as that psychedelic substance is taken, or you go into a different state of energy, like consciousness, then you just become a magnet to the entities. So that's the first risk of going into these environments. And then the second risk is that we're going into spaces where these are like traditions that have taken thousands of years to mature. And we're going in as Westerners, we don't have the full scope of that tradition. And we don't know if these people are using it really in a positive or a negative way. So, what I'm saying is like, I know there are good shamans out there, but there are also people that use these tools in a way where they know they're going to uh, sort of take advantage of an innocent Westerner that's coming into their environment and doesn't have the full scope of awareness. But it's really fascinating. And yeah, so I had a client who had done many retreats, not just one, but several. And at every retreat that they had a negative experience, but all in different ways. Um, I think the most shocking one was when they went to a retreat and the woman who was running the retreat, so the facilitator of the retreat, mentioned that she had, I think it was lung cancer or something. It was a cancer, and it was obviously going to end her life. And when we went into doing the soul center healing hypnotherapy, it was uncovered that the facilitator had put a cord into my client's heart and was siphoning energy from my client so that she could still live. So obviously, in part of that process, we cut that cord. Now, my client had said that in her own visualizations, she'd seen this cord and she'd tried to cut it. And when she'd cut it, this giant snake came out and like wrapped itself around her. And when I could tune into her energy, I could see that snake. It was totally wrapped around the body like a huge python, and the head was coming over their head. So, obviously that was something that we had to remove. We had to remove this snake that was protecting and then cut the cord. And obviously, like, I don't know what's going to happen to that woman, but I know Lyra Whitworth, who created Soul Center Healing Hypnotherapy, has talked about doing something similar and finding out shortly afterwards that it had negative consequences to the person that had thrown this cord in and was siphoning energy. So I think that's a really clear example of how a facilitator can have these esoteric metaphysical knowledge and use it in a nefarious way when they themselves are in a place of suffering and pain. They're going to
Yeah,
die. And so that was,
absolutely. So it really probably pays off for people to really research where it is that they're going, and who it is that they're going to as a practitioner, I guess, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. That is so key, is like, and that's why it's difficult, is because if you're going to somewhere like Peru, often these places are not on our doorstep. Now, you can travel to parts of the UK and people are doing it all covertly and all of that stuff. But, in South America, it's very much um, a known thing. People go there for retreats.
Yeah.
And they're not just taking like, the other thing is like a shaman will train in this for years, and they will take a substance a little bit and then they'll go deeper, and it'll be a gradual process. And then a Westerner goes over there, and within the space of a week, they've taken maybe 3 or 4 substances layered on top of one another.
Mm,
So ayahuasca one day, like DMT or Cambo, and there's so many different substances that they use, like the cactus and the frog's
yeah.
poison and all that stuff. And it's just, even the shaman wouldn't necessarily take all of those substances layered on top of one another in such a short space of time. So I think that kind of adds to that. We're trying to fast track something that really should be honored and respected and taken time over.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I
Mm,
really think my friend was targeted in that way because they're such a light being. And so there was
yeah.
more to siphon off. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not going
Yeah.
to pick the person who's um like really negative or
Yeah.
not
And
not
was then,
already.
do you think any was she on that retreat with other people,
Yeah,
or
there was loads of
and
people there.
and do you think that the woman had put the cords out to all of them? I mean, she could have done this to many, many people.
Exactly. She could
Yeah.
be to so many, but it was there, and it was like the snake was there as well, and it was all very, yeah,
Yeah.
shocking to see, really.
And then so when you did this like removal and then everything, how did your friend, how was she afterwards?
Oh, well, whilst we were removing it, she was vomiting.
Really?
Yeah, her body was purging,
Hmm.
which is what had happened when she tried to connect to that energy before. So, yeah, it was like night and day, before and after. Like, she didn't need to purge anymore. She wasn't vomiting anymore. So it was, yeah,
Yeah.
really shocking.
Yeah.
And then, so that was the first retreat.
All
And then
right. Yeah, yeah,
she'd gone to
continue.
others. Yeah, she'd gone to others. And she went with like a friend to another one in like South America. And um, it just became apparent that the shaman was there, and they was doing something called a dieta, and it's where you invite a plant to share consciousness with you. Now, I don't think the dieta itself was negative, but in that space, like with dietas, this is what I mean. We just don't understand the traditions, and you have to um, honor certain rules.
Yeah.
So, like, you're not allowed to drink alcohol, you're not allowed to eat certain foods like animal products, and you're not allowed to sleep with anyone else. So there's some real serious rules around energy and like honoring boundaries. But she said that while she was in the process of doing the dieta, someone came to her hut, like a man who was part of it, but not the shaman. And they shook her hand, and she didn't realize that that in itself was something that shouldn't have happened. And the other man knew about that because he was like a local, a native. And what can happen is like in that exchange, he was siphoning off what she was cultivating with this plant, the dieta that she was trying to bring into her being. And so when I went through the soul center healing hypnotherapy, one of the energies that came up was the dieta. But that same retreat with the dieta, there was also some, I don't know, she called them like witches, came on site who weren't part of the like retreat um, staff or anything like that, but they were hanging around the site. And when she went into one of the psychedelic experiences, they were like, it was almost like the Matrix. She was doing battle with these people that were
Wow.
there. And one of them placed a reverse curse on her. And that reverse curse came up in the session. It said, up is down and down is up, and white is black and black is white. And I was like, oh, you must be the reverse curse then. And so it started laughing hysterically. And then the reverse curse kind of moved out of the way. Like we took that off of her. But behind it was the energy of a man who was obviously part of that retreat as well. And so we had to then remove his energy that was in her energetic field. And since we've removed the reverse curse, her life has completely shifted. She just could not get a break, could not get the business, up and running in the way she wanted it to. And now loads of leads are coming in and she's feeling much more positive about life and things have just literally turned on their head. So that was another fascinating
Mm.
experience to sort of work with and uncover.
Oh, it's incredible. It is incredible, actually, when people do take that time out. And I think that's it. It's because it's they're having to do the work. Like we're the facilitator, and some people aren't willing to actually spend those few hours of going, hang on, all the information's in me and it's up to me. Because the other thing is when we're doing this work, you're working with their psyche as well, isn't it? And I think that's the most important thing when people start to piece back through what's happened in their life. And it's like putting the jigsaw puzzle pieces together. And
Yeah,
then when these things come up and you can remove them, it's like, wow, that makes so much sense. And when they're removed, because I get that from clients all the time, like this massive turnaround of how um, things start flowing into them. But as you said before, our the magnetic frequency of us. So if you've got, as I call them, the hitchhikers, lowering your vibration, magnetizing more of that, more like say lower vibrational frequency things towards you,
yeah,
remove them, and then that's it. You start magnetizing in more and more and more of the good stuff. And then you do feel, well, it's a curse. It's like lots of curses have been lifted and removed.
yeah.
And
The
then,
the
yeah.
thing about this, I mean, from doing entity removal, just normal like demonic entities and earthbound
Hmm.
spirits that are still traumatized and they didn't move on as they should have done. Um, they're nefarious. They will mess up your life. They
Yeah.
want it to be hell, like the dark ones. And the earthbound spirits will do it just by osmosis. You've attracted something that's negative, and so therefore you're going to feel their feelings and their emotions and their thoughts. They do it badly, but if you think about it, this is like someone who is in this dimension with us consciously,
Yeah.
who is placing something on you energetically to mess you up. Like, I don't know, it's just a different level of evil, I
It's,
think.
it's, it's, it's pretty sick, isn't it,
Yeah,
when you
because a
think
demon
about it?
needs to
But
feed us.
surely the law of karma has to then come back round to them at some point. Do you believe?
I absolutely believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they try and work around it
Mm.
by, I don't know, invoking some sort of ritual at the start that says, by coming here, these people are consenting or whatever.
Yeah,
It's like, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
because they've paid me money, they want this experience, whatever. And it's like, yeah, but not that
Hmm.
experience. But I met another guy actually, and he said that he went to one in Spain, a psychedelic retreat, and he got the sense that the three people that were running it were reptilians, and
Oh,
he confronted them about it. And after that, they kind of turned on him. And he then went to a, obviously, and then
yeah.
he went to, because no one's going to take that well, are they? Are you a
No,
reptilian? If you are a
yeah,
reptilian, you're not going to take it well. If you aren't
no.
a reptilian, you're probably just going to laugh. I mean, like, really? Do I look like a lizard to you? Like, but he was like, then he went to a Vipassana retreat, and he said he sat there, and coming towards him was just like demon after demon after demon, and he was having to like bat them off. And then towards the end there was just a big giant one just sat there, and you and I know that they have a corded system where we have the smaller ones attached to us, but then they're linked to bigger ones, and then you keep going up the pyramid and you end up with Satan or Baal. So I don't know whether he ended up like, coming face to face with like one of the really big nasty evil guys, but he just sat there looking at this guy, and it was almost like a standoff or a stalemate. Like, what are we going to do
Yeah,
now? So it's like, this isn't just a one-off. Like, it's not just one client that's reported
no,
this. There's a theme here.
there
There's
definitely is. But that just reminded me the guy just sitting there, and it's like they can't touch if you have no fear. They really can't touch you, you know? They
no.
absolutely do not have your consent to come in if you've got no fear and you know that energy's there. Um,
But this guy can report feeling it under his face, his skin.
really.
Yeah.
And
Like,
did
so
he get freaked out or
it must be,
did he understand what, what does go on in the different dimensions and how these
I think he knows now.
dark, oh, he knows now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but obviously, like, he didn't first click, I guess, when he went to the retreat that these are reptilians that are running this show. It
Mm,
was only like maybe a few days in, and by that point, you've already taken substances, you've already gone into meditation experiences with the others, and
yeah.
then something that happened to another client of mine is they went to like one of the ones in the UK where it was doing mushrooms, and someone else in the circle, so they're all doing mushrooms, and someone else in the circle had a big demon attached to them, and it hopped from them to her. So it's like, this is like a theme. Like, we can, like, you're either going to end up with the retreat runners giving you something nasty, whether a curse or a hex, or siphoning your energy, or allowing another entity to attach to you because they're actually in cahoots with that entity and they then get special powers from the entity. There's all sorts of dark things that can happen there. Or um, you end up just attracting a negative entity because you're in trauma and you're opening yourself up energetically, or you're going to get one hop from someone else onto you. So
Yeah.
it's
Oh, but that there you go. That reminds me of so it wasn't I've never tried ayahuasca or DMT. Uh so I don't know what it's like. It's just never resonated with me to have to go and experience that. But I was in Mexico now. Would this be January 2022, I think, or 23. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So I'd not long done my training. And then I was going to this, it was like a Kundalini awakening. And there was meant to be three of us, but then this person who'd organised it invited another person, and there wasn't enough space in the room. But the woman, very nicely, she was lovely, the woman that was doing it actually, had set up an extra space. But in my being, the whole way there, it's like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But I'd gone that far and I'd committed, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. The person next to me literally started writhing around the floor, and I'm quickly going, oh, realizing what was going on, trying to shield myself with light. And I literally felt things hopping out of her. She was having the most fantastic experience. By this point, I couldn't relax. I was so uncomfortable. And knowing what I know, I was just like, why have I got myself in this situation? Anyway, after that, my mood went really low. I was almost, because I'd had all my clearing and I was vibing high before and I was in
Yeah.
such a good space. So by the time I got home, I was like, I'm not okay. So fortunately, I've got guys like you I can call on. So and it actually took 2 sessions to clear out what had jumped onto me. It wasn't actually demons, but it was more very low, low, low vibrational earthbound spirits. So I guess, it shows you don't even have to be in a psychedelic state or, in taking one
Yeah.
of these
Opening yourself
drugs,
up. Yeah.
opening yourself up to this. It's like, maybe even people meditating together or just all these various things when there's group
Energy
settings.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
energy work. I think people
Breath
do
work, all that stuff.
have to
Yeah.
start becoming aware and understanding how to protect yourself with that. But then I think the most important thing is removing energies from people, people starting to understand what it is that we are trying to do to clear them, then deal with their emotions. So you're working with their psyche and removing all the trauma, then working through the trauma, and then them understanding how to put that bubble of light around them and
Protection.
that
Yeah.
huge protection around your aura. And then, maybe there is no problem going into accessing these higher dimensions, higher states of consciousness because you are clear of your trauma and you're clear of entities. So you're aware of it. So if they don't have your consent because you know about them, then
Yeah.
surely they shouldn't be able to,
Yeah.
sneak their way in.
And I think the key one there is deal with your own trauma first. It's not like
Yeah.
we're saying ever, ever, ever do this stuff, but if you are
Yeah.
traumatized or you had things happen in your childhood or even more recently that could have impacted your chakra system, that is just a gateway for something to attach to you. So if
Yeah.
that's in your auric field and there's an entity there that I think that probably with your example, it sounds like the woman was going through a massive like light upgrade and probably like the darker ones just couldn't stand the light, so they just hopped off.
Yeah, quite possibly actually. I think that's what was happening to her because she went off and met her star family and everything, and I was like, and it was like, great, I've just taken on all your hitchhikers. But then,
Yeah.
I also think, well, maybe the little hitchhikers go, well, do you know what? I'll jump onto her because I know that I will get sent home because she knows how to do it and where to get the help,
Yeah,
you know?
there is that as well. I
Mm,
think that's for people watching this and they're thinking like, well, how do I protect myself? And they're looking for like solutions of how to reach those higher states of consciousness or understand themselves better, but in a safe way. And I think it is really just having that conversation around what the people that are running the retreats think about entities and working with practitioners like ourselves who are aware of entities and just keeping them clean and clear and working with like their emotional landscape daily, I would say,
yeah.
as well as dipping into higher states of consciousness.
Hmm.
Because I got clients.
I am noticing I'm getting more inquiries and I'm managing to have more conversations with people about entities. And then when you explain it to them, they go, actually, that does make sense, and it's, I've even been getting people coming in for just I do, clinical hypnotherapy and spontaneous entities are coming up and I'm having to do removal whilst doing that. And also even, I mean, it's even happened when I've been doing massage on people. It's
Yeah,
had, I think I've had about 4 people where we've had as earthbound spirits coming through. And it's maybe just because I'm working on their body, then something starts activating. And I just feel so blessed. I now know what to do with these things because with, how some people might remove entities, and unless they're taken off to the right place, it's a bit like, if you're in dirty water and a leech hops onto you and you just pull that leech off and throw it back in the water, it's just going to go attached to something else, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
one of the benefits of soul center healing hypnotherapy is helping these beings to the
Yeah.
light, working with
Hmm.
compassion and seeing that they're
Hmm.
actually suffering too.
There's so, yeah, exactly, that's it. And yeah, I love doing it. I just love it when you get the chance to explain to them what's going on, and then they're like, yeah, okay, right, I'm ready to go. And
Yeah,
they're just
I
so
want to go.
delighted. I
Send
want to
me.
go. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I get
some of
that
them
all
have
the
been,
time.
I mean, they're just, some of them, you don't even know how many eons old they are. You just know they're
Oh my
old, they're
gosh.
tired, they're ready to
Yeah,
retire,
they've
and they're
been
like,
beaten
I'm
up.
done. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've been abused, beaten up by their
Hmm.
masters, and they are just ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're
Amazing.
benefiting too, well, multiple beings, because there's normally not just one attached, is it? There's like multiple attached to
Yeah.
one person.
Yeah, that's why I always say to people is like, look, you're helping your soul, but you're also helping all these other souls. And I just think, that's it. That's our job is we're walking everyone back home to
To the
that,
light.
that nice, the light and back into that lovely one consciousness to realize that we are all part of each other.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's the
So,
benefit. It is a very rewarding job, it has to be
yeah,
said.
yeah. But no, that's been fascinating conversation. But I think we've got a few more things that we will be able to talk about in future little podcasts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So listen, thank you so much, Nicole, and thank you everyone for watching. And as I say, I am back and I hope to start putting out some more content. I just think, what's the point in putting out content just for the sake of it? So the fact that I'm back on form means this channel can get back on form. So Nicole, thank you. Also, actually, before I go, if anyone would be interested in booking a session with Nicole, just can you just give us your details and then I can pop it in the link below as well.
Yeah, I'll send you my link and because it's my name, it's nicoleshepard.co.uk.
Ah,
But
there you
obviously
go.
my spelling of my surname is quite a pain. So I'll send you the link definitely to
Okay,
pop in
we'll
the
just pop a
description.
link below. Okay, right, thanks.
Thank you
I'll,
so much.
perfect. Bye.